Yeah, welcome back to study section 10 on HG 201 Introduction to Agricultural Economics. On the previous study sections, we talked about different type of costs, the cost theory, but here we'll be discussing agricultural marketing. Introduction. The analysis of demand and supply has made us to know what happens to the goods and services produced for the needs of the consumers. So the environment in which the forces of supply and demand operate is being called markets. So at the end of this study section, you should be able to know the meaning of markets, highlight some of the critical for categorizing markets. You should be able to explain the volume of trade, and lastly, you should be able to explain commodity trade. Let's discuss this learning outcome one after the other. Markets have different definitions, which includes it's being referred to as any group of transactions or business dealing between buyers and sellers. And market can denote potential or estimated consumer demand. The term market is also used to denote a medium or an organization where people meet to buy and sell goods or commodities on daily, every 5 days, or even on a weekly basis. So a market is any organization whereby the buyers and sellers of a commodity are kept in close touch with each other for exchange of title ownership of the commodity in the market. Condition for a market to exist are the commodities to sell must exist. There must be sellers who are ready to sell the commodities. There must be buyers who want to buy the commodity put up for sales. The buyers must be able to strike bargains with the sellers on the price of the commodities. Importance of markets. The constitution of markets and market prices are central problems of economics. The economic importance of a market is that it is a medium or an organization where prices of commodities are determined and the title ownership is being exchanged. Criteria for categorizing markets. So the following are the criteria for categorizing markets. The first one is homogeneous commodity. Any one unit of the commodity brought to the market is exactly like any other, and there is no trade name or trade market to distinguish the supply of one seller from the other. For example, if garri is offered for sale, all the sellers will be selling garri. If it is white yam, all the sellers will be selling white yams. So many buyers and sellers have large number of buyers and sellers, which will make it impossible for a few buyers and sellers to significantly influence the market demand. So supply and prices either by purchasing and supply respectively. Buyers and sellers must be in touch. Buyers and sellers should have complete knowledge of transactions within the market. And the fourth one is preferential treatment. In a perfect market, there must not be any preferential treatment, favored customers or buyers and sellers. And the last one is free entry and exit into the market. Buyers and sellers should be free to enter and leave the market, and there should be no unionism of any kind that will hinder or limit the extent of entry and exit. Any diversion from these conditions make the market an imperfect one. Therefore, under imperfect markets, the following features are discerned. The first one is non-homogeneous commodity. The same type of commodity may be branded under different names or may be differentiated on the basis of further processing. For example, in the garri marketing, yellow garri is different from white garri. While USA brand of rice is not the same as brand of rice to an average housewife. Entry and exit. Entry into imperfect market is not free. A prospective seller must join an existing association before he or she can be allowed to enter the market, while buyers may be compelled to buy from a particular seller. So the cases of imperfect markets, we have monopoly and oligopoly. In a monopolistic market, two conditions must be fulfilled. One, there is only one seller selling the commodity, or the few sellers combined together to fix supply and price of the commodity. So there is no substitute for the commodity. And the second one is oligopoly. In an oligopoly market, there are few sellers and many buyers, and it is called duopoly, where there are just two sellers. Volume of trade. Markets can be classified on the basis of volume of trade and resource base of the operators, in which we have retail and wholesale markets. Retail markets, here the sellers in the market are small traders. The sellers have small resource, hence they could only handle small volume of commodity themselves. So the retailer sells directly to the final consumers. But for the wholesale market, the wholesalers are big traders. They have huge resource base. They handle large volume of commodity markets and perform the following functions. 1. Breaking of bulk. Producers prefer to sell directly to wholesalers who buy in bulk in order to avoid sundry marketing problems. Warehousing. The wholesalers relieve the manufacturers of the trouble and expense of holding large stock by taking stock of what is produced, so that the manufacturer can have the factory space cleared for further production. And lastly, expert buying and selling. Expert knowledge is required of a commodity bought and sold in the organized produce markets. Commodity traded is assumed that markets exist for the buying and selling of commodity. So we have different forms of commodity. Commodity can be assumed in many meanings, such as consumer goods or final products such as yam, rice, beef, eggs, etc. Producer goods or intermediate products such as raw materials such as cocoa, cotton, and rubber. So forms of market. Using the various meaning of commodity, we can therefore talk of the following markets. We have markets for final products, that is the yam market, rice market, etc. The second one, we have markets for intermediate products. We have cocoa markets, groundnut markets, cashew markets. And the third one is markets for production resources, where we have labor markets and land markets. I hope you've learned one or two things from this video section. Join me for the next study section. Thank you for listening.